we are also bringing up the Show Up Act. Millions of Americans have already gone back to work. Americans show up every day to work. Washington shouldn't be the last place to get back to work. It should have been the first, but yet as we see today, at many agencies, more than half of their federal workers are not showing up to work. And it's hurting families back home across America. I get calls from veterans still who can't get their proper Veterans Affairs benefits. These are people who served our country, risked their lives for our freedoms, and they can't even get their paperwork processed because they might need records, and somebody at home is not able to get the access to those records because they're not showing up for work. Our veterans showed up for work. Those employees at the federal level need to show up for work to help give them their benefits. There's still millions of taxpayers across the country in 2023 who still haven't gotten their IRS return from 2021 because IRS agents aren't showing up to work. This needs to end. People are waiting on passports for more than 6 months at a time because you can't process a passport remotely from home. You need to show up at work. Families expect the federal government to do their jobs and work for them. They're surely collecting their paychecks. It's long past time that they show up for work as well. So we're bringing all of these bills as well as a bill to denounce the horrors of socialism.
This week, House Republicans are voting on legislation to restore our constitutional rights and freedoms after 2 long years. Democrats' authoritarian policies weaponized the federal government, forced unconstitutional vaccine mandates, and cost hundreds of billions in waste and abuse of Americans' hard-earned taxpayer dollars. House Republicans will also pass the Show Up Act. Americans across the country show up to work every day. There is no reason why federal employees should not be held to the same standard. House Republicans will deliver on our promises to hold Democrats accountable for.
And as Republicans, we said we would end these emergency declarations to open the country back up again. And so last week, when we announced that we would bring these 2 pieces of legislation to both end the national emergency, a lot of Democrats started scrambling because they know that in their states, these are causing major problems. And in fact, it also triggers these emergencies, triggers billions of dollars a month in Washington. And there's some that still want to spend those billions of dollars wastefully instead of saving those and giving that back to the American people. And so as we put it out there, clearly it caused some dilemmas amongst Democrats who were putting pressure on the White House. And finally, because as the whip pointed out, we announced this last week, the White House yesterday finally said they will end these public health emergencies. The problem is the president said he's going to wait until May. Well, Mr. President, if you know it's the right thing to do, don't wait until May. Let's open our country back up again, get our economy back up again. Let these families get their lives moving forward. And so we're going to continue to move this legislation. Hopefully we see an overwhelming bipartisan vote for them both because they would take effect immediately. And so we're bringing those forward. We're also bringing forward the Freedom for Healthcare Workers Act. Let's get those healthcare workers back to work. Let's continue to applaud them as the heroes that they are, not try to shame them or terminate their careers.
For the past 2 years, Democrats did not conduct a single hearing of oversight of what may turn out to be the greatest theft of American taxpayer dollars in history. After rushing through inflation-inducing government spending under the guise of pandemic relief, hundreds of billions of dollars have been stolen from American taxpayers, lining the pockets of criminals and foreign adversaries. But under Republican leadership, the Oversight Committee is returning to its primary duty to root out waste, fraud, abuse, and mismanagement in the federal government. We owe it to the American people to provide answers about how their money, whether spent under the Trump administration or Biden administration, was squandered. And we must identify solutions to prevent it from happening again. This week, we're also sending a strong message to the Biden administration. It's time to get back to work in person for the American people. Tomorrow, the House will consider the Show Up Act. President Biden's unnecessary expansion of telework has crippled the ability of agencies to get their jobs done and created massive backlogs. Seniors have experienced delays with the Social Security Administration. American taxpayers have struggled to get help from the IRS during tax filing season, and veterans have been unable to access their records. The Show Up Act ensures our government shows up for the people we are here to serve because American workers across the country show up every day. Federal employees should follow their example.
Last week, House Republicans passed the Strategic Production Response Act to counteract Joe Biden's reckless abuse of our strategic petroleum reserve. In the first open rule held on the House floor since 2015, House Republicans came together. We stood united against Democrat poison pill amendments, and we won over and over and over again. This was a critical moment to deliver on a key tenet of our platform, American energy security. And this week, we're going to continue winning. We're going to continue winning for the American people who elected this Republican House majority. We are denouncing socialism in all its forms and forcing career bureaucrats to start showing up for work again. By the way, I don't know if anyone noticed, but the White House is now responding directly to the House Republicans. They responded yesterday saying they're going to end they're taking notice. Everybody else should too. House Republicans are going to keep winning, and we're just getting started.